Hello, Black El Paso. My name is Shonique Torrance. I'll be bringing you the latest in news, information, contests, and giveaways. If you're not already connected, get connected. Follow us on social media. Sign up for our newsletter. Stay tuned, Sun City. Welcome back to Black El Paso Voice. I'm your host, Shonique Torrance. I am here with a very special guest, Pastor Michael Grady.
Yes.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
Yes.
He is our newly elected and installed president of NAACP El Paso branch. Well, are we ready?
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
This is wonderful.
Yes.
First question.
Mm-hmm.
Before you tell us about the initiatives of the local branch of the NAACP, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. Went into the military in the early 70s, right after the Vietnam War, and ended up at the United States Army Chaplain Center and School at Fort Wadsworth, New York, which no longer exists, and trained there, and then came to El Paso, Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, 1974. Came here, was stationed here, instrumental in beginning the gospel service on post. It used to be called the Gospel Hour back in those days with Chaplain Hanson Bonet and Chaplain Ron Sharp and myself and a couple other folks we established. We were the first pilot for the gospel services here in Fort Bliss and throughout the military. Then I stayed here. I met and married Jenevelyn Boatman out of Austin High School. She was still in high school. And we got married, and then we left here and went to Italy. So we went to Vicenza, Italy. We spent our honeymoon there at government expense. And we stayed there for 3 years, a little over 3 years, and came back and forth to El Paso, Fort Bliss, and throughout the military, working with the chaplain's branch. And I've pastored all over the world: Italy, Greece, Turkey, Japan, Korea, Germany, and parts of the United States. I ended up retiring at the chaplain school at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. 1994, I retired there. I was on staff training chaplains and chaplains assistants. I was a reserve training advisor for the United States Army Chaplain Center and School prior to them moving to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So I retired there. While I was there teaching, I was also pastoring and also teaching at Mom's Bible Institute. So I was doing a sort of a triple threat, I guess, back in those days. And then I retired at Fort Monmouth, and I just left out of the military gate and went right back to pastoring True Vine Baptist Church there in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and stayed in New Jersey for about 10 years, from 1990 to 2000. In 2000, a friend of mine called me from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and told me if he needed some help. He had a business, wanted me to come down and help him get established, and so I left. We moved the whole family just on a phone call from Eatontown, New Jersey. We lived in Lakewood, New Jersey, which was really ran by Hasidic Jews. So I had a great fellowship with rabbis and learned a lot about Judaism in those days, and went to Fayetteville, North Carolina to help out my friend. We stayed there from 2000 to 2004. My oldest daughter was at Fayetteville State, and of course, my wife's mother got sick. She was in El Paso. So again, she came here. I stayed there with Monique until we just couldn't stay any longer. My mother-in-law's health deteriorated, my sister-in-law. And so we moved back here to El Paso, 2004. I came back here really to rest. I was kind of tired of pastoring at some point. But as soon as I got back, I ended up pastoring the church we got married in 42 years ago. Phillips Chapel Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. So in 2004, early 2005, the bishop asked me if I would take on that parish. I did. I established the ministry there, called back many who had left the church. Then I was elected president of the El Paso Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance, where I served as president. And during that time, I was able to convene pastors and ministers throughout the city. John Cook was in the office of the mayor, and I would convene with him and pray with him twice a month and bring other pastors around the table and really try to establish some relationship. I'm a relationship kind of pastor, and I believe that that what we say and what we do needs to be modeled so that it will have credibility. And so we stayed at Phillips Chapel from 2005 to 2015. 2015, the Lord asked me to move out of that environment and to establish the Prince of Peace Christian Fellowship Church in the central east of El Paso, 2155 Wedgewood Drive. And so we established that ministry, and we've been there since 2015. This is our 4th year, and God is doing some wonderful things. Then I ended up being elected as president of the NAACP El Paso, the oldest branch in the great state of Texas. And so I've been president for about 4 months and really trying to establish credibility again, build relationships and coalition throughout the city of El Paso, because I think the African-American community is so fragmented that we need to have a rallying point and a rallying place. We need to be able to speak truth to power, expose the darkness, and offer the light. But more than anything, we need to bring our people together. So that's just a little bit about me. And I appreciate you asking me that.
No problem.
Yes.
You definitely sound like you are very well versed.
Yes.
What is your vision for the local branch? And is it reflective of the national level?
Well, the vision of the El Paso branch of the NAACP is to really refocus, revive, revisit, and restore. Something happened. This is the oldest branch in the great state of Texas. 109 years ago, it was established. But something's happened in 109 years. We've become complacent. We've settled for less than what we can accomplish in this city. We sort of hide out African Americans. We're all over the city. Our churches are relatively healthy to some degree, but we're not involved in the city. So we need to restore the credibility of the NAACP. Its mission is to attack, to expose, and to rebuild African-American communities or people of color, because the NAACP is not a black organization. It was not even started by blacks, but it is an organization that has taken up the mantle for civil, social, and economic rights. In every city, there's a branch, pretty much. But what has happened is we've fallen prey to this attitude that we don't need to collaborate with one another. We've got some real issues with one another. Even with our pastors and churches, we have real issues with division and divisiveness. And so one of my visions is to see if we can come together around a common table and invite our brothers, all people of color, to come around the table so that we can see how we can affect change in the city of El Paso. Because we're the oldest branch in the state of Texas, Austin and Dallas and Houston ought to be looking to us for leadership and not the other way around. And so we've become, again, to some degree complacent, and I'm trying to revive us, give us a passion for civil, social, economic rights, for building bridges and not walls, and then for being involved in the city. This is a huge city. There are a lot of opportunities for us as people of color. But again, most folks who come through El Paso don't want to stay. They don't feel like they have a place or a position. And there's some great things happening in the city, but we've got to wake our people up from their sleep and begin to establish the kind of credibility that I believe the NAACP deserves, if we are willing.
That is a phenomenal vision, definitely. So currently, are there any issues locally that require the assistance of the NAACP?
Well, the issues, we have some issues. Some questions are being asked about hiring practices, about bilingual preferred, if I can use that terminology. People feel that there are no jobs here, that they're because if you're not dual language or you don't speak Spanish, you're not going to be able to move up into any level of responsibility. But I found out recently that's not written anywhere. That's a perception. And a lot of times people's perceptions, I say perceptions are like ears. Everybody has two. But again, we need to investigate. And what I found out that in the positions in El Paso with civil government or with social government, that they cannot make those kind of statements. So, But our people, again, going off of a myth. And so they stay away from even applying for the job. There are a lot of apprenticeship programs in the city of El Paso that are wide open. 50 positions are available for people if they would apply. And as the apprenticeship program, people are able to train and to learn, and it may lead to full-time employment, but you got to be in it to win it.
That's right.
And so again, that's one of the areas. The other area is, again, dealing with the issue of collaboration. Because we're fragmented, the challenge is we don't really know each other. I plan to have a unity summit this summer between ourselves and our Spanish American brothers. I've connected the branch to LULAC, and I know that scares a lot of people, but we need to collaborate. We need to come together and have a strong voice in this city so that we can protect the rights of citizens against race-based discrimination, whether it be in the school system. There are some challenges with bullying. There are some challenges with race-based discrimination in our school system. So we have committees, and we have chairs of those committees, but they've got to get involved in this city. Our meetings, we meet once a month on the third Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Mount Zion Baptist Church. But the work doesn't happen at the meeting. The work happens in the trenches. Right. So we got to get our people excited to move outside of their comfort zone and to deal with real relevant issues in El Paso.
Thank you so much. Speaking on that, ACSO is a phenomenal program of the NAACP and is lauded nationally.
Yes.
Why isn't it active here in El Paso?
Again, the committees have not really been approached in a way that we would have qualified people that would connect to the branch. ACSO requires someone of a high educational caliber and a willingness, again, to move into community to build that program. So we haven't found people yet to take that committee. I've asked several people. I'm still in contact, interviewing folks who would be willing to take on that responsibility. But again, the branch for the past years, again, has settled for maybe 3 agenda items. And ACSO has not been one of them. But since I've been on board, we're trying to establish our committees and our committees with leaders who, again, are capable and competent and consistent in being able to attach themselves to those committee chairs and individuals within the city to address the issues. ACSO on a national level, state level is doing great. But again, here in El Paso, we need to make some changes and we need to address that particular issue.
Awesome. I do agree. What would someone need to do to participate or become a member of the NAACP? And what are some of the needs? What is the most topic or subject that needs the attention?
Okay, in order to join the NAACP, there are 2 means of doing that. You can contact any member of the branch. Again, we meet on the third Saturday at 10 a.m. You're welcome to come to a meeting and you can join in that environment. You can also go online, NAACP-elpaso.org, and you can see our platform, and you can also join there and sign up for our newsletter, and you can connect with us in that respect. We have a great communications director. She's doing a marvelous job of getting our name out there, and so I'm excited about that. But you can go online, and you can look at all of the committees and what they do. Again, the responsibility of the committee chairs is to garner people together to work on those particular committees. The criminal justice committee we have the committee that deals with military and Fort Bliss and the Veterans Administration. We have committees for our youth and young adult. We have committees for education committee. We tried to develop a business plan so that economic development, that's very important here in the city of El Paso. So find out, once you connect to the branch, then we'll try to marry you up with one of those committees where you can help to serve. Again, the work happens in community. And so we need the young people and young adults to get on board and to put their hands to the plow so that we can accomplish some great things. I was at UTEP this past week. I met with the Black Student Union. They had a meeting there. I met with many of the students, and they really had no idea that the NAACP was alive and well, as many people will use that as an excuse. But I want to say to them today, it's time out for excuses. The work must be done, and we need willing vessels committed to civil, social, and economic rights who are not afraid to step outside of the box and to collaborate with our brothers and sisters in this city so that we can have a credible and tangible means of addressing the issues that affect people of color.
Support Black-owned businesses. Visit flippingbooksandstuff.com to buy new and used books, and follow on Facebook at Flipping Books and Stuff.
In addition to serving as president of Inner Bill ACP, El Paso local branch, are you invited with any other community activities, or are you involved in any other community activities?
Well, I feel like I'm attached to a whole lot of activities. I'm an honorary Delta. I'm an honorary Link. I'm connected to many of the churches in the city of El Paso. So I have a sort of a wide range of responsibilities. And I don't take those responsibilities for title. I'm about movers and shakers. I'm about getting involved. And so I try to stay connected to as many credible institutions. I have an issue with people who have some viability in this city, but you never see them at city council meeting. You never see them at the school board meeting. You never see them involved in those issues and areas that we must address as a people collaboratively. I have an issue with even with our churches. I don't see them. We can fill a funeral. we go to funerals and we go to banquets, but I'm looking for people to get out, get involved in the city. Sam Morgan is doing a great job in the Northeast, but he's just one guy. But we need men and women to expand their territory and move intentionally throughout the city of El Paso and get involved. There are areas where there is no African American representation. There are probably about 15 citywide committees in the city of El Paso that have no African American representation, and to me that's a travesty. But again, we become complacent. We're afraid to operate outside the box. We don't know how to go up to a person that doesn't look like us and share vision. And I'm about change. I'm about building collaborative support throughout the city of El Paso that accomplishes something. Mm-hmm. We have anniversaries every year, and sometimes we go to these fancy hotels. We dress up in our tuxedos, and we love the ambiance. But what's happened is, what are we really doing? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of meetings that go on in this city, but after the meeting's over, it's like, then what? We go home and we become complacent again. We don't really get involved. So I'm really challenging the citizens of El Paso to take a very hard look at themselves. How do you measure success? Whether it be in the churches, whether it be in civil and social arenas, how do we measure success? How do we know that we've accomplished something great? Well, you got to be able to measure that based on a set of values. And the first set of values, am I involved in the city of El Paso? And is what I'm doing touching and affecting lives in a way that leaves legacy? I'm about leaving legacy. And I don't believe that legacy has anything to do with brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. The Lord didn't tell us to build buildings. He told us to build people, mm-hmm. to strengthen people, to encourage one another. And so I hope that people will take advantage and opportunity and begin to plant themselves in those arenas that can have a really tangible and credible impact, so that when people hear about El Paso, they'll know that El Paso holistically is alive and well.
Definitely. And Pastor Grady, I like what you said. The one word that really, really resonated with me is complacency. Yeah. So what do you feel the Black community has as the reason for being complacent?
Well, part of it, I believe, is historically, we've been afraid to trust. That's part of our history. Mm-hmm. That was part of the way that we were brought to this country on slave ships, and we were pitted against one another, taken advantage of. And so we learned some behaviors from our slave masters that sort of spilled over into our culture. There was the field hand and there was the house hand, mm-hmm. and they were pitted against one another. Usually there was an African American guarding African Americans. And if you look at 12 Years a Slave, I believe is the name of the movie. If you see some of the things that are happening there, the religion was given to us that caused us to be complacent and to settle down and just to wait upon the Lord. And I know it's important to wait upon the Lord as it pertains to our faith, but we need to come together. We need to get mad enough and angry enough to change our circumstances and stop just settling for less. There's a book I read a few years ago called Children of a Lesser God. And I believe that we have become children of a lesser God. We expect less from deity now than we did thousands of years ago. We came from kings and queens. In Africa, we were of royal priesthood and royal blood, but we've settled down because it takes effort. You see, if the Lord would just simply snap his finger and make everything all right, we would be fine with that. But if it requires for me to come out of my comfort zone, to move through our community, to expose the darkness, to offer the light, I cannot be afraid of what men may do because I represent a higher power. And I have to give an accountability to what I've done, what has been my stewardship of the things that God has entrusted me with. And so part of this complacency is fear. We teach and we preach that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but we operate in fear. When I was praying with Mayor Cook on the 10th floor, I had some very intelligent people that I invited ask questions like, what is he praying for? Or what is he praying about? And I said, why don't you just come see? Why don't you get connect to community? Come around the table. But if it's not a photo op, if it's not based something that they can get some credit for, a pat on the back, African Americans, for whatever reason, just don't want to get involved. And so it is a tragedy that we've got some qualified men and women, and the older African Americans, they've already paved the way. But this new generation seems to believe that we don't need each other. And so I hope that we would take a hard look. In the book of James, it says, behold the man in the mirror. And I think if we take a very hard look at where we are in the city of El Paso, we're going backwards. The nation's going backwards, but we're following along because of our complacency.
Wow, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Pastor Grady, if
Yes.
you could tell us a fun fact about yourself.
Oh, well, I like to be spontaneous.
Okay.
And I love children. I love the little children. I have one granddaughter, Maya, and but I love to be spontaneous. And the fun thing about me is that I'm the same guy as the NAACP president, as I am as a pastor, as a community leader, as a community activist. I think I just like to challenge people to look at where you are and make a conscious decision to do better. Better is not always about dollars and cents and promotions. Better to me is about what are you doing to leave legacy. People need to know that you've been here. I'm 65 years old. I've been preaching since I was 12 years old. And everywhere we've gone, and I've been all over the world, I'm still in contact with people I went to elementary school with. And we get on the phone and we just laugh and we just have a great time. I'm still in contact with people I pastored 40 years ago in Italy, in Germany. I'm in contact with a good friend of mine that I licensed in 1984 in Korea, 2nd Infantry Division. He's now a doctor. He has his doctorate degree. He's pastoring a church in Hinesville, Georgia, and we still keep in contact. So I'm relational. El Paso, for whatever reason, is missional. And what I mean by that is that the mission may be Black History Parade. So we can come together to do that, but then once that's done, that's the end of what we do. The mission may be the black and white ball, the red and white ball, the green and white ball, but after we raise our money and sell our tickets, we scatter like roaches in this city. And you have to look for people. I still go to the mall and I'm amazed when people, and you can tell new people because they're new black people when they come to town. Oh, there goes another black person over there, but again, so we scatter. We got a lot of good quality, but we keep it covert because again, for whatever reason, we're afraid to expose ourselves to the masses because they may ask us a question. They may ask us to share the vision or where you're going and what direction are you trying to lead or to take us? And keep in mind, you can lead by precept and example without ever opening your mouth. And one of the greatest scriptures in the Bible John the Baptist was in prison, and he sent his disciples to go ask Jesus, is he the one, or should the disciples look for another? And Jesus said to John's disciples, go back and tell John what you see and what you hear. And I'm afraid today we hear a lot, but we don't see a lot. So it's a contradiction. And then James said, don't just be hearers of the word, be doers of the word also. So I really believe that we can turn the tide, but we've got to examine ourselves, and we got to make sense out of chaos and find out, God, how are you going to use me in the city of El Paso? You know, if you say charge and you look behind, nobody's behind you, you're just going on a walk. So most of our leaders, though we have people in front of us every Sunday, most of our pastors and churches have people in front of them every Sunday, but we don't encourage them to register to vote. We don't encourage them to seek these positions on the city council or positions on the committees throughout the city, the county, and the city of El Paso. So what are we really doing? Yes, we want to go to heaven, but Ayanna Van Zant says, in the meantime, what are we going to do so that people will know first that there is a God who cares for them, and there is a people who are moved by God to make a difference.
Definitely, definitely. Well, thank you so very much. Black El Paso, we'll be right back.
Support Black-owned businesses. Visit flippingbooksandstuff.com to buy new and used books, and follow on Facebook at Flipping Books and Stuff.
Welcome back to Black El Paso Voice. I am here with Pastor Grady, and we have had a wonderful discussion. Can you please tell our audience how they can contact you?
Yes, there are several ways. You can contact me through president at NAACP at elpaso.com. You can reach me via cell phone 915-487-7836. You can also reach me through NAACP elpaso.org. So those are three venues that you can use to connect with me.
Hello, Black El Paso. My name is Shonique Torrance. I'll be bringing you the latest in news, information, contests, and giveaways. If you're not already connected, get connected. Follow us on social media. Sign up for our newsletter. Stay tuned, Sun City.